Hello friends, welcome to another exciting series of our Jenkins part 4. In today's video, we are going to basically learn how to integrate the GitHub with Jenkins. I hope you all are doing great, and without any delay, let's move to our agenda. In today's video, we are going to basically understand what is difference between a public versus private Git repository. Then we are going to basically talk about how to integrate a GitHub repository with Jenkins and the ways to trigger our build. At the same time, we are going to basically learn about running our first GitHub integration job. Another topic we are going to basically touch base in this series is going to be what is webhook, why we need webhook, and last and the least, we are going to learn about integration with Git webhooks. One thing I'm going to highlight here is once we go through this presentation, we will be having a demo session. So stay tuned. So let's get started with our presentation. So first, let's get an understanding between a public versus private GitHub repository. So what is a public repository? Public repository refers to those repositories which can be accessed by any people around the world who use the GitHub. Private repository? The private repository refers to those repositories that can be accessed only by yourself and the individuals with whom you have shared the repository. The scenario of public repository is, say, you have written a code and you want someone to basically give you a feedback of how your code is, and that's where you share that code on a GitHub website or a repository stuff. The private repository basically refers to your projects, right? Where you do not want anyone else to access your project code. And that's where you make your repository private. Moving to the next one is the integration of GitHub with Jenkins. So what all steps we need in order to integrate the GitHub repository with the Jenkins. So the first step here is generate SSH key. We need to ensure that SSH agent is running on the server. In our demo session, we are going to use the AWS EC2 instance. So I'm going to make sure that my SSH agent is running on EC2 instance. Once we have generated the SSH key, we need to basically copy the public key, which is generated in the step 1 to the Git repository. Don't worry, I'm going to basically show you how to get your public key deploys in the GitHub repository configuration. The fifth step here is that we will be logging to the Jenkins, and then we are going to add the private key, and then we are going to configure the Jenkins job. At the stage 7, we have integrated our GitHub repository with the Jenkins by using public and private key. So on the right side, you see the figure where I'm basically showing you how are we going to basically indicate that. So Jenkins is going to basically have an SSH connection to the GitHub where it will basically pull the changes which you have made in your repository, and then the build job will run. Moving to the next important topic where you should know the different ways to trigger the build. So the first here is a trigger builds remotely. If you want your project build to trigger from anywhere, anytime, then you select this trigger build, and it's a remote option. Build after other projects are built. This is where you have a dependency of project A on project B on project A, and you want to make sure that once the build of project A is completed, then only the build project B build should start. And this is needed when you set up the multi-pipeline project where the GitHub, where the developers make a change in the GitHub, the build gets triggered. Once the build is deployed, you want your testers or your test build now to run where you have written the test cases, and that's where you use this build after other projects are built. PollSCM. This is a very common way of triggering your build, and the PollSCM basically periodically polls the SCM, which is source code management, to check whether the changes are made and build the project if new commits were pushed since the last build. The other important thing is GitHub Webhook trigger for Git SCM pulling, and that's where is our demo going to be, how to integrate the webhook with the Jenkins. The GitHub webhooks in Jenkins are used to trigger the build whenever developer commits something to the branch. Don't worry, I'm going to show you the demonstration of this, and that's what is our video of today is. The last way of triggering the build is build periodically. So build periodically triggers the build as per the schedule. So there you would have a situation where you want to trigger the build after every 5 minutes, or say morning at 9 a.m. Then I want another build to be triggered at 12 p.m. then at 3 p.m. and so on. And that's where is a build periodically. Now you would be under impression that the same thing I can do it in PollSCM, but what is the difference between build periodically and PollSCM? Don't worry, I'm going to show you that in our demo session, so stay tuned. Moving to our next important topic is webhook. What are webhooks and why we need this webhook? Right? That's where we need to understand. So webhooks are a user-defined HTTP callbacks, an HTTP post that occurs when something happens, a simple event notification via HTTP post. So that's what is the webhook. Why we need this? Webhooks are a way to receive a valuable information when it happens, rather than continuing polling for that data and receiving nothing valuable most of the time. So that's where is the difference between PollSCM and webhook, right? The webhooks are usually triggered by some events such as pushing a code to a repository or comment being posted to a blog. When that event occurs, the source site makes an HTTP request to the URL configured for the webhook. The users can configure them to cause the events on site to invoke the behavior on another. The action may be anything. Don't worry, we are going to basically have a demo session where we are going to basically create a webhook URL, and whenever the changes occur in our Git repository, we are going to basically trigger our build job. So there are certain events webhook offers us. We are going to go through those all events, and then we are going to have a demo session of those events as well. So stay tuned. But before that, let's understand the theoretical way of what is webhook, right? Now, the last and important thing is integration with webhook. Sorry for the spelling mistake. So the steps needed here is we need to just create a freestyle job, configure the Git source code management, configure the GitHub webhook. Jenkins build will trigger automatically whenever the change push in the repository, and that's where we are going to see our demo session. Here is a small stage or the representation of what we have talked about the webhook, what stages, what will happen. So the developers push the code to GitHub. Is webhook fired successfully? If yes, it validates the token. Signature is valid, yes, then and it runs your job. If the webhook fire is not successful, then it goes validates if the secret text belong to the repository saved in Jenkins, validate if the user whose personal access token is saved in the Jenkins has the least number of privileges, right? It's going to basically check all those things. Is token valid? Not, then Scrum issue evaluate the roles of user and token. Is signature valid? It will basically if no, then it's going to basically give you an error of 400, and then we need to update the correct token in GitHub and Jenkins. Don't worry, don't get confused, or don't worry about that. We are going to have all this in our demo session. My only intention what of this PPT was to make sure that you understand or be aware what a demo session we are going to have in our this series of GitHub integration with Jenkins. So without any delay, let's get started with our demo session. Hello friends, welcome to the demo session of our GitHub integration with Jenkins. As you can see that I have already logged into my GitHub page, which is DevOps Cloud Talks. Okay, so the moment you log into the GitHub, you will be seeing your home page. Now let's click on the repository which I have. So in my case, I have a repository called DevOps Cloud Talks. Let me click on it, and if you can see, it is it is the public repository. Right now, in case if you want to make your repository private, all you need to do is click on settings, which I'm going to do, scroll down, and here you will see something called as a danger zone, and that's where you can go ahead and change the visibility of your repository. So let's click make it private. The moment I make it private, it asks me to type the confirm. Right, so let me type confirm. Okay, I scroll down, type DevOps now. Okay, and I click on understand change repository visibility. So moment I did this, you can see the DevOps Cloud repository has now become private, and that's how you can make your repository private, which will help you to give the limited access to your repository where in which project you're working. In case you want to make your repository again a public, where the outside world can see your repository and suggest the recommendation on your code once you have uploaded in your repository, you can again follow the same process. So let's click on DevOps Cloud Talks repository, go to settings, and again let's scroll down to the same thing and just make it public. All I need to do is type this again to make sure that I understand the visibility change, and you see now it is changed to the public. And that's how the beauty of GitHub is. It allows you to change the visibility of your repository anytime from public to private, private to public. So friends, before we take a deep dive on how to establish the SSH connection between GitHub and Jenkins, let me quickly walk through the different ways of triggering your build. Remember, we had that in our presentation, but let me show you here quickly. So all you need to do is click on new item, select the freestyle project, and write demo git. In my case, I'm just writing that. Once that is done, you get the page where you need to basically specify the description, the source code, and source code management is where we are going to basically use the Git repository and do our integration. But let's quickly go through the ways of triggering the build. Remember, the first way to trigger the build is you can call the simple script through an Ansible or Autosys job or any build job which will trigger this build, right? So you can have a shell script which will make a connection to this Jenkins and execute this build, right? The second part is the build of the other projects are built. In this case, say suppose you have a project A and now you want project B to be only kicked off when the project A build is being success. And this kind of situation happens in the pipeline, right? When you're building a pipeline project, you need that. Build periodically is like a cron job. You want to schedule your job or a build to run after every 5 minutes, 15 minutes, or at a particular time. And that's where you do this, right? Then there is something called as a PollSCM. It's similar to the cron job, but the difference between these two is that the build periodically will run irrespective you have made change in your Git repository, but the PollSCM will only run when there is a change committed in your Git repository. So remember the very thin line difference between the build periodically and the PollSCM. And the next important thing which our this video is about is the integration of webhook with the Jenkins, and that's where I'm going to show you the demo in the next upcoming uh, I would say in next few minutes, right? So now let's quickly create the SSH connection between the Jenkins and GitHub. For that, you need to do SSH keygen minus TRSA. Okay, might be okay, maybe I have something stored in my uh, this, or it is SSH keygen TSS. So all I'm going to do is execute that 85 command, and I've done enter, and that's where my key has been created. So now I have a public key and a private key. So now I need to take this public key and insert into the GitHub. That's where we will be now making a connection using the public and private key. So let's quickly go to our GitHub, and we are in the DevOps Cloud Talks. All I'm going to do is click on settings, go to the deploy key. I have something old key, let me delete it quickly. Add a deploy key here, and I give a time call as git Jenkins, and I go and do cat here and just type this, right, which is idrsa.pub, and I have copied this. I'm going to copy this quickly, click okay, add the key. Now we have added the public key in the GitHub. Now let's quickly go back to our Jenkins and add the private key, right? So click on manage Jenkins, okay, and then we will be going under security, going on manage credentials, and that's where we are going to add our key. Add this, and the important thing to select here is SSH username with private key. That's the important one. And ID, you can give an ID of your own to recognize that key, or it will generate an automated number. So I will write Jenkins get, quickly copy paste this here, scroll down and add the private key. So for that, all I need to do is cat this here, get my private key here, and we are copying here, right? And that's where we created our key. Now go back to the project, right? So demo.git, right? Remember we created. So I'm just going to go here, configure it, write the description over fast GitHub integration for typo. I click on Git go to this, get my SSH connection, put it here, and now I'm going to select the Jenkins key, which remember, which we created under manage Jenkins credentials. That's what I'm going to do. And here the branches to be built will be always main. If you have any other branch, you can mention that, but for my demo, I'm going to use main. And then I'm going to basically type here main. And then let me just add the timestamp to the console, right? Let me show you without console, and then okay, let's apply the changes. Okay, and let's like the pull statement, something email notification if you want, right? But let's not write anything. Let's just delete the workspace when it's done. Okay, I'll delete this, apply changes, save. Okay, I'm here, and now I'm going to click on build now. Okay, so the moment I click build now, you see our project has been executed, and I click here, go to the console output, and we see that our connection is successful, right? You're using known host file to make the connection, using SSH credentials, checkout, and everything. We were able to connect to Dev Cloud talks.git repository, right? And you can also see the git build data here. That's where it is, right? You can go directly from here. If you want to see any changes, there as of now there is no changes. Edit build information, you can give the build name, whatever description you want. Status is success. Right now, if you go here and go to build history, you will see the first our project, which is when 54 seconds was success, right? That's how. Now let's create another project called as demo git. Okay, one. Okay, I'm going to click here one. I'm going to basically quickly go to this, get my repository here, type this, and I'm going to basically show you the difference between build periodically and the PollSCM, right? So let's click on build build periodically, and I'm going to schedule it. It's very simple. If you don't know, you can go to cron tab guru and get, say if I want to execute after every 5 minutes, right? Something, right? So I'll basically do that. I can definitely put here star as well. Okay, so after every 5 minutes, this will get executed, right? From here you can get, or you can go down here where it says that these are the examples. Suppose you want to execute every 15 minutes, you can copy this. What I will do is I'll just copy this here. Instead of 15, I will make it as 5. And since I'm in the eastern zone, right, what I'm going to do is scroll down quickly here, or I can search here. I'll go down, I'll search here eastern. Okay, and I go up, page up, page up, page up. Okay, I go here and I will type here z equals to this, and now I'm going to apply it. You see it's going to get executed in next at 2:19, right? So here it is 10:17. In next 2 minutes it's going to get execute here. One more thing, if you remember, let's just put all the description here. Our first GitHub job using build periodically, right? And say if you want to discard old bills, you can do that as well. It's up to you. You have also the post action. Remember, I selected the post build this, you post build action. So I can write here, delete the workspace when the build is done, or I can send an email notification, or I can build other projects as well, right? So as of now, let's put this add the timestamp. That's what I will do now, and I will show you that. So I'm just saving it, that waiting for going back to the dashboard, waiting for my this to get click no build. It says it has not yet executed, right? So let's just wait for 1 minute. 10:19 is where our build will get trigger off. So just refreshing this quickly. Let's do it. So if you see, the build demo has been now executed, and it's getting executed. And if we see here, it should give us the status, and it is success here. You can also schedule the build another form here as well. So let me click on this and let me go to the workspace. Okay, there is nothing here. Go back here. Let me quickly click on this, okay, and then we will see the console output, okay, and you see the timestamp has been added here, right? That's what our main intention was, to analyze whether the timestamp is there when it was executed. And this, if you see, the first time build skipping change log, and it is making connection or second page or kind of thing. So this is how you can schedule the build periodically. Okay, now let's quickly go to the same thing. All I'm going to do is configure this, okay, and I'm going to basically, instead of this build periodically, I'm going to disable this, select this, and I'm going to go to PollSCM, and I'm going to type this, okay, and all I'm going to do is apply the changes. And if we see, it's going to be there in next 4 minutes. If you remember the difference between these two, unless there is a commit, it will not execute. But let's do that. All I'm going to do is to be for using PollSCM, okay, and let's see if I can build step with the shell command. Let me write here echo executing the build using PollSCM, right? And that's what we are going to do. Let's type here apply. Okay, this is save here, and now let's go back and see whether we are going to execute, whether the build is going to get execute or not, right? Remember, it is scheduled to do at this time, right? 2:24:46. So we have more 3 minutes. Let's just wait for that and see whether it's executed or not. So we are approaching to the time, right, which is 10:24. So just few seconds. Let's see whether it gets executed or not, right? That's what our main intention is. So it's already the 4:40 seconds. Let's see whether it gets executed at 4:46. 4 minutes, 5 minutes more. See, and we are here, right? If you see, the PollSCM hasn't been executed, right? It has not been updated. The last success was this, right? And that's what is the difference between these two. Now let me quickly go ahead and update my repository. All I'm going to do is create a new file, okay, and I'm going to write here PollSCM demo, right? And I'm just going to write here echo this is, or I'm going to write print this is PollSCM demo, right? Nothing as such. We do not want nothing to be done, that kind of thing. And I'm just going to write here PollSCM demo. The file name, the description is this, and I'm now committing it, right? So I've just committed. Now let's see whether our project of demo git gets executed in next 5 minutes or not, right? So I'm just waiting for the 5 minutes to occur. Friends, we are approaching to the 5 minutes timeline, and we should see the PollSCM should get executed since I've made the change in my Git repository. So let's just be patient and wait for next few seconds to get our build trigger. And hooray, our build has been triggered. As I mentioned, the PollSCM will look if any changes are made in your Git repository, and then it will trigger accordingly. And if you see our project has been success, right? So now let's click on demo and let's go on our last build, or you can directly and go to the console. And if you see, it has executed, hello, executing the built using PollSCM. Remember, that's what we have typed in our shell command, right? If you want to know the polling log, you can go and see, and it types here changes found. That's where the last change was happened. You can also go to the git build data and go to our directory there, right? So that's how the beauty of this is. See, I have also committed the changes, and that's what it gives me, the details, the summary, what was done and other stuff, right? So that's how the poll build basically differentiates you from the build periodically, right? Whenever you make a change in the git repository, the PollSCM will identify that and it will execute the build job. But the build periodically will execute the job irrespective what you have made the changes. I hope you got an understanding of this. So friends, moving to our next demo, which is built after other projects are built. For that, I'm going to create two jobs. So a very simple job. Let's click on the new item. Sorry for that. It's taking that much time. Let me select this one. So we'll write demo job 1. Okay. Demo build 1. Okay. Let's click on this. It's taking little time. It's okay. So friends, to demonstrate the build after one build, uh, we are going to create two jobs, job 1 and job 2. Let's do that. So I'm going to create a simple demo job 1. Okay. And, and I'm going to just write a simple our demo job 1. Okay. I'm going to write a shell script here, execute build script echo this. Okay. And once this job goes to success, I want another project to be built, right? So let me click quickly save here, go back to dashboard. Okay, click a new item, select a project which is called as a demo job 2. Okay, and now we are going to basically our demo job 2. Okay, so we are going to basically go here, post build. Okay, no, we are here, sorry, build step. We'll write here, go our job 2. I'm going to save here. let me go to the dashboard. We go to the job one configure. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to type here projects build, right? So if you see here, right, all I want is that my job 2 should run only when the trigger of job 1 is stable or it's in success, right? That's what we have added, right? And we are going to just save this. Okay, now let's go to the dashboard and let's click on build now. And once this is built, the job 2 automatically should start. And if you see, the job 2 is in the queue, right? And that's what we are doing, right? So let me refresh my dashboard, and if you see, the both the jobs have been triggered, right? So let's go here, let's go to the last build, let's go to the console, and you see our first job has been kicked off and it's saying triggering a new build job 2, and you can go here and see that the job 2 has been triggered, right? And that's what we can see, right? And that's what our main intention is, right? And that's what it shows, that our demo 2 job has been kicked. And I hope you got an understanding of how to set up the build, right, of one job dependent on other job, right? That's what our main intention was, and that's what we have done here, right? By selecting build the other projects, right? So once the demo 1 goes to success, let's start building the demo 2 job 2 project, right? And that's what. And if the project 1 is unstable, somehow there is some error or kind of thing and it fails to execute, then this will not trigger, right? Let's do that, right? So for that, let me go here, let me go to the config, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to type some typo error. Okay, I'm going to save it. Okay, and let's see if this gets executed or not. Something should fail. Let's see how it works out. And if you see, the job 1 has failed, but the job 2 didn't got trigger. And that's what we wanted, right? We wanted that our job 2 not to trigger if the project 1 has failed. And that's what, right? And that's what it says, that failed to execute the shell and the job 2 didn't got trigger. I hope you got an understanding of build project based on the other project success, right? And that's what was the main intention of this demo session. So friends, we are on our last demo session of Webhook. All I'm going to do is click on the settings, click on Webhook. I have already configured my Webhook, but I will show you the steps. So I'm going to edit it. All we need to do is type the Jenkins URL which you are using, right, on which your Jenkins is running. But we need to make sure we append something called as a GitHub Webhook. And then we have something called as which events you like this webhook to trigger, right? So defaultly it is always push event, then send me everything and select the individuals. You will have something called as page bills, labels, any issue comments, someone has done the commit comments, someone has opened the new issue, someone has done the pull request, push request, repository created, deleted, repository input. So let's just now create send me for everything, and I'm just going to update this webhook, right? And then I'm here, I'm going to go to the Jenkins, create a new project called as webhook demo freestyle. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to write here our first webhook demo project, right? And quickly I'm going to click on Git repository. But before that, I'm just going to go into build step and write an execute shell script, which will just print what we have typed here, right? And then we are going to go here, update our main branch. Okay, then we are going to add the credentials, get our repository here. Okay, and then we are going to do this, right? And it has gone, save successfully, go to dashboard, and here our webhook demo project is. Now let me go ahead and add quickly one file called as test demo webhook 1. Okay, nothing, just typing this, created this, commit new file. The moment I do this, I should see my webhook project should be triggered off. But let's see, just wait one sec and see why it is not getting triggered. Do you know why it's not triggering? Because we haven't selected GitHub hook trigger for GCM pulling. So remember, this is very important for your project to get triggered. Now I click save, go to dashboard, and let me again go to this and just delete this file, right? All I'm going to do is go ahead, delete this file, and I'm going to click here, delete test demo webhook 1, and I'm going to commit the changes, and now our webhook project should trigger, and it has triggered. You can see here. That's what is the beauty of webhook. So whenever someone pushes the code, pulls the code, commit any changes into your Git repository, creates a new issue, a new repository, or deletes any repository, it will automatically trigger your build. All we need to do is just do the integration of this, right? Let's go here, check the console output, and you see, right, our first demo project has been printed. It has gone successful. You can also go to the pulling log and you can see no existing build, scheduling a new one, done, changes found. And that's how you know, right? You can save it here also in the plain file, and that's it. I hope you guys got a better understanding of how to integrate the GitHub with Jenkins. What are the different ways of triggering your build? How can you schedule the build using a build repo, build periodically, PollSCM? What is difference between these two? And finally, how can you integrate the GitHub Webhook with the Jenkins? If you have liked this video, kindly do subscribe to my YouTube channel and share this video with your friends, with your colleagues who are trying to learn the Jenkins. But do not forget to click on the bell icon to get notified whenever such interesting videos are uploaded by me. Until then, take care. Bye bye.